Das ist gut, ja.
Das ist gut, ja.
Das
It's
ist
the
gut.
broken one. Eh? It's the wrong one. Finally. Only like 20 minutes late.
Hey, that coffee
I'm
is-
starting to enjoy
isn't-
this song. Eh?
Gonna make itself or like deliver itself to your place, dude. It's
Yeah,
worth it.
dude. Yes, something like that. Right. We are all in the house for a change. So, Lester, so you know the weekend that you didn't make it? You know,
Yeah.
without
You didn't have one.
Yeah, well, no.
Oh,
This is
okay,
quite a
the
funny story. You got to listen to
Yeah,
the story,
carry on.
right? So first of all, I mean, you got a lot of explaining to do. There's a fine session in there somewhere, but but I'm also having a fine session,
We're not gonna
right?
tackle it now, right?
Yeah, no, we won't do that now. But I'm also going to have a fine session because you know what happened? First of all, Jerry was in the house. Jerry came round and it was supposed to be a surprise. The biggest surprise
Oh
was
no!
the biggest surprise was Lester didn't arrive. Okay. But then we sit and we do this fucking full on podcast talking about shit and all that kind of stuff. And guess what? I forgot to hit the streaming button.
Oh!
That was epic. Epic fail.
Epic fail.
Epic fail.
Oh my
I was
God.
like, and he tells me that literally like 2 seconds, like before we finished.
And I'm like,
I actually forgot to hit the streaming button. I'm like, what? Are you joking?
we've had on this full on chat. You're thinking we're talking to the world and the world's not listening, dude. It's because I'm not fucking broadcasting.
Brilliant. Nice work. Nice
Anyway,
work.
that be it. And then, what's happening on your side, dude?
Hey, the sun's come out for the first time this year.
Oh, nice.
No
We're
way.
halfway through March.
No way.
It stopped raining. I reckon we've had so much rain. I mean, you know, the UK is full of rubbish weather and rain. But we've had so much rain that I swear this mud island is sinking. So, yeah, not good. And you guys, how's your water shortage going?
Oh, jeez. Have you heard about that?
Yeah.
Fortunately, in the area that I'm in, I'm like the last person to lose water. So the moment that I start losing water, they're already talking about turning it back on again. And then I'm all good. Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
saw they were
Oleg, your
all
area?
superb and
3 days last week. This week wasn't anything major.
Yeah.
3 days last week. But yeah, Andrew is like somehow in a strategic position. And he like, when everyone doesn't have water, he basically has full on pressure.
next to some VIPs or something.
Yeah.
He lives near some
And I
person
mean,
with him.
it's not like he stays not next to the water tower either. He's just in the right spot. in
Yeah,
the
it's
sweet
weird.
spot.
It's weird.
Maybe they've heard of the weekend track. Maybe they are regular fans. They're like, whatever we do, we need to make sure this guy
I
has
think
water. Actually,
yeah.
he's got power as well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that
Little
one's not working. Yeah, so load shedding is like, yeah, comes and goes. It's not as hectic as it's been in the past. Touch wood, eh?
Shedding does come and go, yes.
Touch wood.
Touch wood.
Yeah. Right. So what's your excuse, dude?
Or what? Last week or the week before?
The week before. Last week you gave an excuse, which was feasible, family stuff.
Oh,
you know.
yes.
I'll
Yeah.
give you that one. But the week before, did you have a heavy night the night before? Or were you not, or were you just having a me moment?
I was not in a good place.
Shame, man.
That's
No,
hectic.
it's I don't know, just tempered, foul, everything. If I had a dog, it would have got picked.
Yeah.
Don't say anything.
Okay, I've noticed that. Yeah. So Oleg, why did you bring me a coffee this morning?
Hey, dude, you're too far, man.
Foul-tempered.
You're too far. Sorry, man. This is not one of those long distance relationships that includes coffee.
Oh dear.
Although it would be
So-
good because I'm pretty sure you can order Starbucks for delivery, right?
It would be cold because my nearest Starbucks is about half an hour away. They don't deliver. I don't have Uber in my area. There's no delivery in my area.
Okay.
Yeah.
What at all?
I mean, I've got pizza place delivers, but pizza chain, should I say, they deliver. But it's only since they actually opened a shop in my town. But yeah.
Well, maybe it's not a bad thing because I mean that basically will encourage you to kind of cook or maybe go out.
Fair
Actually, go out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where I live is like 100 meters from all the restaurants that I have in my village.
You see,
All of them.
it's like
But I don't really do takeaways that much. So
But just for the interest sake, like what type of restaurants do they have kind of in your area? Like,
typically in every village and town in England and probably the other home countries, you will have a kebab
McDonald's.
shop. No. Talking about like every village.
yeah.
You're going to have a Indian, Chinese, kebab. Those three, you're going to have them.
Which
You might have more
sorry, what was the first one?
Indian,
Okay, Chinese,
Chinese.
and then
Kebab.
Kebab probably is more prevalent than Chinese, but yeah, typically you'd have all three.
kebab. Okay, cool.
Turkish.
And the English type of restaurant and pub. I mean, like, what type of food do they have? I'm pretty sure you're gonna have a pub in every place, so they will have food and beer.
Not always food these days. It's changed.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of pubs have closed since COVID.
Mhm.
No restaurants. And those who are open, it kind of maybe they try to go a bit more upmarket and be something that's not traditional pub fare. You still get pub fare, but it's not as prevalent as you're suggesting.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Typical pub fare, you would always have.
What's that? Pies and chips, bangers and mash.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Those are traditional.
Fish and
Sunday
chips?
roast, maybe.
Fish and chips?
Maybe
Not
fish
really?
and chips. Yeah.
Not.
I don't know. In the pub, fish and chips.
Fish and chips, always.
Always.
Okay.
Lovely. Nice, man. Nice.
Well, on our side, we basically are spoiled for choice. I mean,
Oh, you live in a city, man. I would expect you.
we
to
are
have
spoiled
living
for
options.
choice.
Yeah. No, well, listen, dude. Even Witbank's got.
Even
Witbank.
Witbank being the fifth fastest growing town in South Africa.
I don't think it's
Not a
like.
small
I
town.
don't think it's like that anymore.
I don't
No,
think
it's
it's okay. It was
It still
20 years
is.
ago.
It still is.
Jeez, dude.
But what?
I feel sorry for if anyone's moving into Witbank now. I feel sorry for them. That's all I can say. Because if you want to go where there is zero service delivery, that's the place to go.
Don't have
If you
delivery.
want to have to own a 4x4 to drive on a tar road, that's the place that you go to.
Yeah, Witbank is rough. But everyone drives 4x4s there anyway.
Not everybody, but everybody should.
Off-road motorbikes.
No, jeez, dude.
No. You don't want to tackle that road on the motorbike. That's like, that's a suicide wish.
Yeah, I almost saw my ass there once.
So
on
is
my
there
bike.
a Toyota or Land Rover delership in Witbank?
I
Yeah,
think
there's a Toyota
definitely
dealership. Always.
There's definitely going to be a Toyota. There's definitely going to be a.
There are probably
Ford.
more Toyota dealerships in Mpumalanga than there are in Gauteng.
Probably, yeah. That's a
Because
fair
it's
estimate.
servicing all the farmers and the mines.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Gauteng. It's a big population of Gauteng compared to Mpumalanga.
I don't know.
Much bigger.
Oh, is this the first Google
Yeah,
search?
much bigger.
Much bigger. But 4x4s are not kind of like the key selling focus for Gauteng. It would be small vehicles. So like the stuff
Yeah,
that
no,
the stuff
sure.
that would move like in Gauteng is not the same stuff that would move kind of in Mpumalanga.
Understood.
Yep.
Guys, so can we talk about
TikTok ban.
TikTok ban?
Um,
Ban.
I don't know. They've been talking about it for a long time. I mean,
But would you ban TikTok?
well, I suppose if you're trying to understand why they're banning TikTok,
Okay.
Without the
because they believe
propaganda.
that they believe that the Chinese are spying on them.
Okay.
Well, that's the last I heard. What's your take?
Yeah, why? Why is it without the propaganda here? What is the legitimate reason to ban this application? Considering a lot of these videos that are on there are the social media platforms.
How's TikTok different to basically to Instagram or Facebook?
Well, the
Let's-
ones
let's take
owned by an American company, the other one's just owned by a Chinese company.
but content-wise.
No, content-wise, it's the same because most people will post, cross-post.
Mm. Would you say basically would you say that TikTok is actually more popular with a younger generation of people than Facebook or Instagram?
I would say so, in the sense that it depends what your target audience is.
But I'm talking
Um,
about younger generation of people.
No, but I mean,
Okay,
even the
because there is
the younger generation will have a target audience. They might be a content creator, they might be an influencer, or they might just be making gags for shits and giggles. Even in that age range.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're also at that precipice of next generation choosing different apps.
Yeah, true.
Facebook is now the older generation.
Yeah. So
Instagram
and
was
also
next
the
generation.
yeah, and the other thing is the format of the application. So the interface. So the Facebook interface is not like geared towards short content,
Mm.
short form content, whereas TikTok is. Instagram's also not really geared towards short term,
Short term.
short form content. Yeah. Although they're trying to push it, they're trying to push their reels and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, that means that TikTok has found something that they didn't have that they're now trying to push.
Emulate and kind of like complete kind of that market.
Yeah. But
Okay,
I see TikTok is trying to encourage long form content now, as well as landscape video.
Oh, interesting.
Don't like it.
Don't like it.
Guys, like your comments, like as a heavy users of TikTok.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, I lost 3 hours on TikTok the other night.
So I would say you guys are like heavy users of TikTok. I don't even like have TikTok account. Like I basically just check out content that like
That I send.
you occasionally send, right?
Yeah.
like MySpace that I live in, it's most likely Twitter.
No, MySpace is dead, dude.
dude, you're not on MySpace. Don't. people
MySpace is gone. It was bought by Justin Timberlake and it was never seen again.
Are you serious? It
Yeah.
was bought by Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were saying your space?
I most likely live mostly on Twitter.
Yeah. It's called X now, dude.
X. X.
Yeah. Well, you see, the thing is that, like, I don't know.
X. marks the spot.
X doesn't do anything for me. If I go into X once or 2-3 times a month, it's a lot. Because I mean, it doesn't have the content that I want,
Yeah, for sure.
and everyone's talking shit in there. So
Absolutely.
What's the
It's
point?
a very angry space, dude.
like, what's the point? Why I much rather be watching videos and reading some oaks dodgy comments that don't make sense. Oh well, that's just my view.
Okay, that's fair. But like
Yeah.
your guys' take on banning TikTok. Move in the right direction, move in the wrong direction.
Well, I suppose if you were to believe that the Chinese were spying on the Americans, then you can understand why the Americans would want to do it. But they don't have any hardcore evidence that that's happening. So, yeah.
So I'm moving the wrong direction.
I don't understand. The only people banning TikTok are some American states.
Well, I know in Australia they were talking about banning it as well.
I need that evidence of what is it they think they are doing.
Yeah.
We
I
went through
suppose-
the same thing with 6G infrastructure,
Yeah.
5G infrastructure.
Yeah.
Don't use the Chinese one because it's got stuff in it. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't.
No, but
Show
I
us the
mean,
evidence.
I read an article, you know, and I suppose you got to take all this stuff with a pinch of salt, but that it was found that there was spyware built into Huawei hardware.
Okay.
And that's why a lot of places
You
were
seen
saying...
articles? Oh.
Yeah, no, quite recently I was reading something. Where was it? Oh, I was listening to a podcast. That's what it was. I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about a guy that used to work for... He's an American guy who was working for a Singaporean company. And I think it was Huawei. It was a project that Huawei was working on. And he was concerned about the Chinese influence on Huawei. And he was actually murdered because he was going to expose them. Because when he was working on this project with Huawei in Singapore, he believed that he was, what was it? What's the right word? It was, what's the right way to put it? Dangerous to American national security, put it that way. And he was resigning from Huawei, from this project, and he was going to go back to America. And before he could leave, 2 days before he left, he was murdered, and they made it look like an attempted suicide.
What do you mean? Attempted suicide?
Well, basically, it looked like
like you just said, the
guy's dead.
Sorry, it looked like suicide. Yeah, you're right.
Dude, are you having a Biden moment?
Yeah, I was having a Biden moment. I forgot to take my tablets this morning.
Okay, about the attempted suicide. Like, look, I know we're talking about Huawei. Okay, my take is, unless you have concrete evidence, and even if you have concrete evidence, you have to weigh up the pros and cons. I mean, it's like, obviously, for like a senator or a government official to have TikTok installed on their phone, just type of stuff. Even if there was no direct spyware embedded in the application, it's dodgy. You know, like all these key stakeholders and players should have secure comms infrastructure in place, type of thing. That's kind of my take. But I'm talking about like 14-year-old kids. I mean, really?
Well, it's not. It's, you see, because I mean, if you listen to some of the questions that they were asking them when they were having the hearings or whatever, they wanted to know if TikTok has the ability to connect to other devices on the same Wi-Fi network. Right, so your kid could be using TikTok. You could be a government official. You might have a laptop that's on the same network.
Mm-hmm.
They were asking whether TikTok had the ability to had functionality in it to connect to other devices on the same Wi-Fi network.
Are they speaking from the experience of Facebook and Instagram? Most likely.
Look, I mean, I don't think Facebook is innocent in this, because I don't know if you know the story that Facebook bought a VPN company some years ago.
I heard of it, but like,
and
I just remember it vaguely.
The app was obviously available in the Apple Store. And you know, Apple's quite pedantic about the apps that are in the Apple Store.
Yeah.
And when they analyzed the code, they found out that the VPN software owned by Facebook was monitoring the traffic. And I mean, that's the whole point of the VPN is it's supposed to be a secure
Anonymous.
connection.
Anonymous.
Yeah. And that software was gathering data. So Facebook's not innocent in this whole thing.
Yeah. So
But we know that Facebook gathers information and it's for the analytics. That's a source of revenue. It's been around for time. Still going back to TikTok though. Still don't know. What was the answer? Can TikTok interact with other devices on the same network?
I would imagine it can, but they said that it didn't.
okay.
I'm still at this place. I mean, I don't care if they know which video trends I watch, because I don't even know what video trends I watch. Good luck to them. It's so sporadic, and it doesn't say anything about my personality. Well, maybe it does. Maybe I should have a talk to myself.
But I think it's kind of a valid point, because but my take is that we need to kind of have a universal set of rules. Like, it doesn't mean that TikTok can't, but Facebook, Instagram, and X can. It needs to be kind of, like in the EU, you have a data privacy agreement, and a lot of these kind of platforms fall under this data privacy agreement. So, like, for example's sake, Facebook, Instagram, and X have to have European servers that have a completely different set of rules to kind of like North American servers.
Data sovereignty, yes.
Yeah. So,
and GDP, data protection.
I think the European model is actually quite a good model, because despite all these kind of platforms were really pissed off, because it really limited to what they can do with the data and where the data is kept and under what conditions it's kept and who can access that data, etc. But I think it's a kind of a move in the right direction. I think it's a very responsible way of kind of trying to address the problem. Just my 5 cents. So European framework is kind of already there. You just
hard
need to
manage that. It's hard to implement that framework. It
well,
costs a lot of money, because you can't just, like, if I think back to the early days of Facebook and other apps at the time, the .com era, you could have an application that sat on a server farm in one location or two locations in the world, and it would service the world. Now, because of the demand and all the data protection and sovereignty that they're trying to adhere to, they need to have instances in every country. That data is not allowed to leave the country.
Yep.
It costs a fortune. I mean, it's great for business, for me, but it costs a fortune to keep this infrastructure going and making sure that nothing is leaked, nothing is replicated, because there is a lot of replication of data for disaster recovery purposes. You don't want your app not to be online. Gosh.
But I think it's a still move in the right direction. And I think the whole stringency around data protection and how the data is going to be handled is only going to get more serious globally, right? So, but the importance of the European framework of data protection and data security is the fact that it's kind of a blueprint of this is the starting point, this is where we should start, etc., etc. I'm a big fan.
Fair enough, but it's
but I mean, but what type of data are we talking about?
Everything.
Okay, but
it's
then, sorry, it's any what?
Any personal data, and
personal
it could be
data.
a picture. It could just be your name. I mean, you got a login account on a social
No, but I
media
mean, the thing is that, like, if you're talking about a name, if I put my name on my Instagram profile, right? But someone from another country can access my Instagram profile, even though the server's based in the US. I'm in South Africa and I'm accessing a person's Instagram profile. I mean,
but they don't know who you are, like, right? So, like, okay, so they found Andrew Marsh, for example's sake, right? But there could be hundreds, often thousands of
No, fair enough. But I'm just
world.
going on what Lester said, who you are. Okay, well, most people put their like on their Facebook accounts, they've got their proper name.
No, okay. But hang on, there's a slight difference.
Yeah.
Personal data, when you set up a user on your registry, you choose what you want to show you. You sign up to their terms and agreement, terms and conditions.
Yeah,
Are
which
you in
you
agreement
read very carefully.
All 26 pages.
Yes.
Yes, of course we read it. So, but there's other personal data as well. So even if I think of Facebook, you can turn things on and off. You can manipulate fields or not. But the company still has the obligation to keep
Yeah.
that data. But in the country that
Only
you
if you
register
select it, though. Only if you select it.
No, you should be able to access it through your kind of profile. But what we're talking about is actually like have a comprehensive framework for how the platforms operating within the systems actually handle kind of personal data.
Okay, I understand that, but I'm just saying that, you know, all of a sudden there's a fine line between personal data. I mean, just think about the banking systems.
I'm waiting for the penny to drop.
No, well, banking systems. I mean that whole system is controlled by the Americans.
Yeah. That's
So
true.
whenever you fucking pay for something, dude, you know, there's information moving in there that's
Sure.
that's crossing borders
Yeah.
that theoretically shouldn't be crossing borders.
Yeah, for sure. Anytime you basically travel and conduct a transaction that basically involves the US dollars, it will go via SWIFT system. And the SWIFT system within itself will embed unique characteristics to that transaction that will be able to identify who you are, where you're from, etc., through your banking profile. Guys?
Is your point that banking exchange is American owned?
Yeah.
Because I think then there's probably other banking exchanges out there that are not American owned.
No.
They can't
No,
be
there
owned.
is like the SWIFT system, which
Is a commonly used
90%,
one. Is it the only one?
yeah, which is 90% of the banks use, is owned
Okay.
by the Americans.
They're quite transparent though, because surely the financial institutions involved in that transaction want to know what's happening with that transaction, source of funds, because they have
I
to.
understand that.
But
But what I'm
money
saying is,
laundering.
when you're talking about moving sensitive data over cross borders and it mustn't leave the country and all that kind of stuff, there are lots of systems out there that.
No, I get your point. Like, your point is essentially, if I can verbalize it right, is that we're talking about like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, etc. Whereas the most critical data, the financial data, is basically open to one.
Yeah. Well, think about passport information, right? All these countries are going with almost like a centralized system. So when you are moving into a country and you're scanning your passport, that's connecting to a system that is verifying that you are who you are.
Yeah. And your passports, most of the passports these days are biometric passports. So that's kind of like almost like your fingerprints.
Yeah. And where's that data coming from? Where's that data stored? Which country is it in? Which borders is it crossing?
Well, the moment you travel, it's obviously crossing borders because,
Yeah, exactly.
like, but generally, right? Like, for example, say US shouldn't have access to direct public register of UK and kind of vice versa. You know, it's like, I think there's going to be some sort of a link to confirm and verify the information of the passport holder. And they will obviously be tied into like systems like Interpol to see whether there's any criminal or arrest warrants up against
There's another point.
etc. And there may most likely not just be one or two systems. It's most likely going to be dozens of things your information is going to be cross-checked against.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like the world has to kind of not self-govern, but like you have to have kind of checks and balances.
Yeah.
Like
No, I agree. But but this is the thing: is it's almost like a catch-22.
It is.
I mean, the whole thing is that we've globalized, and then all of a sudden you're trying to like almost like dial it back with all these kind of things. You're saying, data mustn't cross borders, etc. I don't know. I just think that there's a fine line, and when there's a fine line, there's opportunity for things to go wrong.
Okay, like where do you see things going wrong? If you have to pick up a crystal ball and just basically...
Well, I think it's about interpretation of what can and cannot leave. That there's a gray area at that boundary.
Okay.
And then, like, because you assume, okay, because the privacy thing is there, that everyone is subscribing to it, right? But if their implementation of what the implementation of the interpretation of the privacy law is not 100%, there's there's this danger that this information might be going outside the bounds of what it should be going out of. And and it's probably happening every day already and probably by having the privacy stuff, it'll dial it back somewhat. But I don't know. I get it and I understand it, but it's like almost like
water under the bridge.
Digital censorship in a way. But not in the sense of, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway.
Coming back to it then, if TikTok gets banned all over the place, what happens then? Does that mean all the other video streaming platforms also going to get banned? Are we going to see new ones?
No, well, look.
Is the content only going to be Koiki recipes for you guys in SA?
Yeah. Because, I mean, like you say, like, for instance, like, let's go back to the ring fencing of data. Does that mean that to make sure that private information doesn't get shared by accident, they go to the point they're saying, well, someone in this country can't see that country's content?
So it's so complex, this topic, because we are custodians of data, personal data. If you come into contact with personal data, you have a right, you have a duty of care of that data. So you can't share that somebody else's personal data that you may have permission to have. You then are not allowed to pass it on unless there's explicit consent.
Yeah.
This whole regime, there's a duty of care. And if you fail that, you will go to jail.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how big or small, right? There's heavy fines as well for businesses if they fail. They gotta. If you're handling personal data, you could have a whole infrastructure. You could have a whole. There's got to be roles and responsibilities within each of the organizations to manage that data.
Yeah.
It's a focal point. It's not just don't forget we can't share that info.
No,
your infrastructure has to support it. Your people in the organization have to be indoctrinated about how to handle data. It's a big thing.
Yeah. And then those are all the people that are abiding by the rules. What about the people that actively don't abide by the rules? I mean, like the fact that all of a sudden your credit card number could be sold to some site somewhere.
This happens every day.
Exactly.
This happens every day. So the IT infrastructure that's happening now, I just did an upgrade on my work laptop this week because it's getting locked down further. So every little thing I do on that laptop is monitored, controlled. It's very hard to work.
Okay, now the question is, if your company is monitoring everything that you are doing, where does that land when it comes to protection of personal information?
Well, the company is already got that infrastructure. It's already got people indoctrinated. The system is already there. There's already a duty of care. Everybody understands their roles and responsibilities.
Yeah.
But even within the applications used to track and monitor things, it's still limited who has access to that, who can control it, and also how the data is done, because it's automated, right? It's not a person sitting there checking out every website you go to. It's automated. And there's certain configurations done to alert people when certain things happen, or groups, or whatever it is. And that probably already happens in Africa as well, right?
Yeah.
Your HR team works with the IT team to make sure, or some company to make sure your pay ends up in your bank account.
Yeah.
Your wage slip, your salary slip. It's already out there, that information. So
Yeah. No,
I just
exactly.
expand that to just about everything you do.
Yeah.
So that infrastructure is already there.
Yeah.
Ooh, we're going-
But I mean, the
we're going
question
down a
is,
slippery
how
slope.
do they use that information within the company? Is there not
Same
a
thing.
temptation that they could be using that information, like your usage habits, to monitor you personally and use that as a measure of your performance, or et cetera, et cetera?
You don't have 10,000 calls a day. You're not performing.
No, but I mean, the thing is that, like, almost like it's that whole concept of establishing a person's sentiment. So they can do this by looking at social media, right? So if they were to monitor your social media content and, you know, like the posts that you are
Sure,
liking,
sure.
or
Well,
the
the
stuff
other thing
that
I
you're
get-
searching on Google, or the
my
this,
home mobile cell phone, Google engine there, the search results
yeah,
actually are syncing with my work laptop's Google
yeah,
history.
exactly,
Yeah, that's,
exactly.
That's slippery, dude. That
No,
is
but I
slippery.
mean, you log into your personal Google account on your work laptop. It syncs all your search history, your
That's the-
hey.
I know I could probably spend a bit more time and lock it down some more if I really cared, if I thought it was a
Well, I suppose the
Stuff
easiest thing that you can do is you don't use your personal Google account on your work laptop. Like if I want to check my personal email, you know, I go into Chrome on my work laptop. Ting, I log in there. Ting, and now all of a sudden everything is syncing, right?
Yeah, sure. To be honest, but your point was, if they're using this data, who controls the use of it? Who controls how it's used, collected, and for what purposes?
Yeah,
Well, surely there's company policy that controls them.
yeah.
And
But
if your company doesn't have a policy around data usage, then you should
Yeah.
ask the question.
And everyone knows that data policy, right?
They've read it.
They've read it.
They've signed it.
Committed to
They
memory.
No, but the
we
problem
get
is,
retrained more frequently now on all of these things, all the policies. We get retrained a few times a year on the same content. It's so painful.
so just to
Stuff
give
still
you an
happens, right?
idea.
So we had a spear phishing attack this week,
Mm-hmm.
right? And phishing happens all the time. Right? And we've got a lot of tools in place to try and prevent it, but it's getting smarter and smarter. And so that's still happening. We're still getting attacked. Other things is it was in the news a few weeks ago that of our companies in Japan, in fact, my old boss was put in charge of this company, and it came out in the press that there was personal data leakage. There was a student, sorry, I would say student, there was a temporary worker brought in who mined the data and put the data out into the public domain. And that's very embarrassing for our company because we pride ourselves on data protection. And my old boss had to officially publicly apologize and resign as a consequence of all this, even though he wasn't in charge at that time. That's how bad it is. This stuff
Yeah.
still happens, even
Yeah.
with all the safeguards we have. So that's why we're constantly making it stronger and stronger.
Sure.
Public
Sure.
I was like,
reputation is at
Oh.
stake.
when you were telling that story, sorry, I just got a picture. And I was really hoping that you were not going to say that your boss had to commit, like your boss who's based in Japan,
Harikiri.
harakiri, you know, like publicly. I was like,
Yeah, let's
no,
not go
this
with
is not the way it's
stereotypes.
going.
I think Japan has moved on a bit, right?
Yeah.
Or like cut off his pinky finger or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's no.
So, just to give you an idea, and this is going back at least 5 years ago, I
Trip
went
down the memory
to
lane.
one of these digital innovation talks at one of the business schools. And they were talking about a story about where a company was I suppose you can call it mining, their employees' social media content, posts and likes and all that kind of stuff, and their habits within the company. And they were using a sentiment sort of algorithm to predict to 75% confidence when the employee was going to resign. And that's 5 years ago.
Yeah, sure. But it takes a lot of time, effort, money to do this, surely.
Well,
So
it's getting,
worthwhile?
but the problem is
I mean, I
it's getting
suppose it depends
cheaper
on the
and cheaper to do that. It's getting cheaper and cheaper to do that.
AI, yeah.
Well, I mean,
Is it?
yeah, exactly.
I do agree with Andrew that it's getting there are toolboxes there that are kind of almost like modular and plug and play that anyone with, I wouldn't say basic, but I would say like intermediate skill set will be able to just bulk mine tons of data, like using those toolboxes. So yeah, it is getting easier and it is getting cheaper. Not just to mine, but do almost real-time analytics on fairly large data sets.
Yeah.
Guys, can I switch the topic quickly? Because, Andrew, you reminded me about something.
What did I remind you about?
Remember that story that you were telling about where you mentioned that an employee of Huawei in Singapore basically committed suicide. That was then alleged as him being taken out, etc., etc.
Yeah.
You know, there is a story that came out this week that one of the individuals who's a former employee of Boeing, who was scheduled to testify against Boeing, right, committed suicide a day before testimony. Right?
Yep.
It's a class action lawsuit because I'm not sure if you've seen the news, but Boeing has been in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Like, there's been a lot of hectic incidents where people were injured. And, you know, planes, panels being ripped out from the planes mid-air. It's not just one or two or three. There's many incidents now, right? And Boeing's both quality control and its power in FAA,
Yeah.
right, where they basically are forced to self-regulate within this industry, have created an environment where quality was substantially compromised to the point where if it's Boeing, I'm not going.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you seen that? Have you seen that the documentary on Netflix about the 737 MAX?
Yeah, it started with 737 MAX. Like, I think
the
the
downfall the case against Boeing.
No, I haven't. But
You must watch it.
I've read the news, and the guy that was actually in this documentary, the guy that basically was in the quality control team, he was basically testifying that and he was there from very beginning, from when Boeing was kind of like an engineering company that's prided itself in doing great engineering, great aviation products, to the point it became a pure corporation focused on the profit margins and satisfying shareholders.
Yeah.
Right. So he saw that entire transition, and he either resigned or retired, got retrenched. I don't remember what the exact story is, but he became a vocal advocate trying to both improve like Boeing's quality standards and quality assurance standards, both from the inside and the outside, when he actually resigned. And he was scheduled to testify, and the day before his testimony, he was found in his vehicle with a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Yes, Steve. Yeah. Yeah, these things happen. And, I mean, if you watch the documentary, it goes into all that stuff. Obviously not the latest news, but the whole thing of how Boeing transitioned from this high-quality aircraft manufacturer to being driven by profits. and the quality control started creeping in. Quality control issues.
So what's interesting about that whole story is that Airbus at the moment is miles ahead of Boeing in terms of quality and in terms of, and Airbus is a European company, right?
I mean, can you imagine? There's only two major airline manufacturers. One is going through this nonsense, and it started with the Max. The other one's just going to soar. Better technology in play. Oh, competition's doing badly. But I don't like this. I would prefer competing companies because otherwise, what's stopping the main manufacturer to start cutting corners? We wouldn't know.
I think there's going to be competition, but not from Boeing. I think it's going to take Boeing a while to kind of fix its reputation.
Absolutely.
I think it's not just... I think things have spiraled so far down that it's kind of beyond basically just fixing quality control issues. It's basically it's a huge reputational damage. It will take time to kind of like, and I'm not talking about like a couple of months. I'm talking about at least a couple of years and consistent performance and consistent basically improving in standards, quality inspections. Quality control on the materials, etc., etc. It's not something that you can just fix like that. Where I think the competition for Airbus is going to be coming in, it's going to be coming in from Russia and China.
Probably. Yeah. No. There's a lot of stuff going out there, and it's all driven by capitalism, in my opinion.
So you suggest we live in a communist state?
No, I didn't say that. I'm just saying that they need to tame the capitalist animal.
Yeah, it does need regulation. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, that whole idea of having competition, which is a fundamental aspect of capitalism. But the fact that you can have these companies that become the sort of like monopoly in a particular field, I don't know how you manage that. That's the.
So you know what's interesting? I had a Saudi pilot, kind of trainee pilot, living with me, and I had a kind of couple of interesting conversations, kind of about certifications, regulation, and etc. etc. And the reason why a lot of kind of pilots in the from the Middle East and other African countries actually come to South Africa to train is because South African aviation CAA standards and practices and certifications are like 100% in line with the European ones. So once you basically get certified in South Africa, you get virtually an automatic certification for Europe, right? But not for North America.
Wow.
Right? But if you get certification for North America, right, you can't get it doesn't translate into European certification in your ability to fly to Europe.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I like to think that there is standards for aviation controls.
Well, based on what I heard, European one is one of the best, if not the best, in terms of kind of being strict. And when you're dealing with like 200 people flying on your airplane, I'd rather have the regulations go overboard than underboard.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
Because once you're on that plane, it's not like you can take a short left and say, drop me off if you're not happy with anything.
Yeah, there weren't enough olives in the salad.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we end off.
We're not ending off.
No. We need to talk Formula One, dude. I think by default you're going to win the fantasy league.
Fantasy league again.
No. You're going to win the fantasy league this year, Lester.
You say that, and 3 of my teams are going to be top.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I've got a confession, though.
What?
Well, I've got an auto select team.
Yes.
That I don't tamper with.
Yes.
It's currently winning.
Thank God for AI. Yeah. So
Yes, the AI, sorry, the fantasy team's doing really well this year. Thanks, guys, for your hard
for your
work,
support.
competition.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, at this stage, at the end of this season, we all would have won a championship. So
Yeah. I
let's go with that.
thought I'd give you a break.
I'd rather not win it this way, but if I have to win, a win's a win, man.
A win's a win. In like 3 years' time, who's going to remember that you were the only one competing?
Not important. Hey, so I'm really bored with the F1. I'll be honest. If I just leave both of these races.
Yeah, well, look, the thing is that it might, because I had a thought last night that I wanted to float with you guys.
Ow.
But first, we've got to start with the power play that's happening at Red Bull.
There's a power play?
Well, haven't you been reading the news?
No, what's happening?
Clearly not. So at the beginning of the year, besides Lewis Hamilton going to Ferrari, Christian Horner was accused of some inappropriate behavior, and there was a shitstorm, and Red Bull was very tight-lipped about what the details were, which I think it's amazing in this world that they were able to keep. Sorry?
It's right. This is an HR matter.
Yeah, and listen, they kept wraps on the details of this whole thing, which I think is amazing in this day and age. However, what irritated me was how all these tabloid type newspapers or online media things were piling into this thing and speculating about what was going on and what was going to happen and all that kind of stuff. And then eventually it landed up with the people in Formula One getting involved. So the next minute you had Toto Wolff calling for Christian Horner's resignation, and you've got the CEO of F1 also climbing in, and then all of a sudden Ford is now rethinking their collaboration with Red Bull and all this kind of shit, right? But just look at how this thing plays out. Christian Horner, and I mean this is purely my opinion and my view on the whole thing. Christian Horner was obviously very quiet about the whole thing. And but I mean, you could just see this. I actually respect this guy, from what I know, and obviously I don't know everything, but from what I know, is this guy was just steadfast and okay, I didn't do anything wrong. He didn't say anything. He didn't say, "Oh, someone's trying to nail me, conspiracy or whatever." So and there's lots of speculation. It's like there's this power play, and Marco and Jos Verstappen and Max Verstappen are now teaming up against Christian Horner to get rid of him and all this kind of shit. And Adrian knew he's going to leave and he's going to go to Mercedes. And, it's this whole thing, right? So what happens? I mean, if you look at how this thing plays out. So they have this independent barrister that investigates this thing. After 2 weeks, they're like, I mean, bearing in mind that they interviewed Christian Horner for 8 hours. At the end of it, it comes out and there was nothing wrong. The grievance had no merit. But listen to what happens afterwards. Okay? First of all of a sudden, 2 days or a couple of days after Christian Horner is cleared, all the information related to the grievance mysteriously gets sent to the entire F1 paddock from an anonymous email, right? A couple of days later, the employee that logged the grievance gets suspended. I'm assuming because they were probably the one that leaked the information. The next minute, Helmut Marko, he's like, everyone thinks that he's the guy that calls the shots at Red Bull, right? All of a sudden, he's now, oh shit, he's going to get sacked or suspended. Jos Verstappen is nowhere to be found. And then all of a sudden, Max is like, okay, well, I just want to fucking drive, right? The next minute, the head of Red Bull from Austria pulls into the paddock. Then all of a sudden, okay, Helmut Marko can stay. Jos Verstappen must stay out of the whole thing. And anyway, this whole thing. I mean, the bottom line is that Christian Horner must be probably one of the smartest guys when it comes to the power play. And I was thinking about it last night. You probably find, if you think about the Red Bull brand, I mean, it's everywhere. It's like, it's all extreme sports and all that kind of stuff. And yes, you got the head office in Austria and so on and so on. But I think at the end of the day, Formula One is like the pinnacle of Red Bull's involvement in sport, right? And with Christian Horner being the CEO of Formula One, the Formula One team, you're almost getting the sense that he's actually the guy that's calling the shots in Red Bull, right, at that level. And don't forget, it's not a commonly spoken about fact that 51% of Red Bull is actually owned by Thailand, by a Thai investor, because that's where the formula for the Red Bull drink came from. It came from Thailand, and they own 51%, and they are the biggest backers of Christian Horner. So I've just found it fascinating, frustrating at times, but fascinating. Now all of a sudden, now everyone's complaining because now they've realized how much power Christian Horner's got. Now they're calling for his head because they say that he's got too much power. And I'm like, you guys are crazy, man. Like, the guy he was the youngest team principal. He is the longest standing team principal in Formula One, right? He started when he was 33. He's now 50. Okay, there is no other team principal that has lasted this long, right? He's now running the most successful Formula One team over and above Mercedes. And don't forget that Red Bull have two teams, not just one. They have two teams, right? And they don't depend on any other manufacturer for their engines. They make their own. So, I mean, it's like Christian Horner's created this, and now they want to call for his head. But here's the thing. This is how I think we must spice up Formula One. It came out that Max is a little bit grumpy, and they're talking about that maybe Max is going to leave Red Bull and all that kind of stuff. If I was Christian Horner, this is what I would do. I would go to Fred Vasseur, who is now the team principal at Ferrari. He is a Frenchman, so he's not Italian. And he's got a sick sense of humor, in a way. He now has Lewis Hamilton as his driver for 2025.
I know where you're going with this.
I think Christian Horner and Fred Vasseur are having a quiet little chat in the background, and Christian Horner is saying, listen, I've given this kid everything that he wants and needs to become one of the most successful Formula One drivers. He's listening to the wrong people. He's listening to Helmut Marko, and he's listening to his dad, and now he's grumpy. You know what I'm going to do, Fred? I'm going to offer Max to you. You can have Max. You can have Max and Lewis in the same team. I'm going to go to Alonso, and I'm going to go to Carlos Sainz, and I'm going to say to them that they can come and drive for me, right? And there's only one rule, right? They can do anything that they want on the track, as long as, and this is Christian Horner talking, as long as I win the Constructors' Championship. I don't care what you guys do on the track. I don't care who wins the Drivers' Championship. You guys can just have fun. So now you can just imagine what Formula One would be like on a Sunday, right? There you would have Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen racing, arguing about their egos in the same team, taking one another out. There you've got Alonso and Carlos Sainz in Red Bulls, knowing that the rule is that they've just got to, both cars need to finish. And they like racing like go-kart races. I think that will turn Formula One on its head.
Needs something.
It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant idea. I think I'm going to call Christian right now.
Call Christian. just speak to him
Call him
quickly.
up. Say hi to Jerry for me while you're there.
But
You guys
You've seen the news this morning. Lewis hasn't had a great start to the season.
yeah,
Ferrari are now going, "Listen, mate, you need to up your game." And at the same time, they've said, "Oh, your race engineer and all that, it's not coming with you."
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
No, listen, I think there's going to be a lot of. I think Formula One's going to be more interesting off the track than on the track for the next couple of years.
Yeah, but I don't want that level of drama. I want to see some good racing.
Yeah, no. Well, there is some good racing
But there's no
behind
racing.
Max Verstappen.
There's no racing without the drama. You need to spice things up. You need to create like a soap
Yeah, but let
equivalent.
the drama be on the track and not in the paddock.
Yeah,
Can't be off.
yeah. But anyway,
Yeah, look,
I
I fell asleep through both Grand Prix.
Okay, guys, can you fill me in? So what was the allegation?
what? We don't. Well, I don't know what
Did he sleep with someone? Like, what was the deal?
No. Yeah,
Don't
well,
know.
they said that
But
There
the
had
woman
been-
has appealed, right?
has
So
she
it's all
appealed?
starting again. Yeah.
Ah, great. Anyway, but I mean, if that employee was the person that leaked the information, they got a problem on their hands.
But like, what was the deal? Like, what was it like?
They
Was it-
don't. Well, I actually haven't seen exactly what the thing was. There was a lot of speculation about inappropriate WhatsApp messages or sexting or that kind of shit. But they investigated it and they found that there was nothing. So who knows?
Oh,
Maybe
we
it's fabricated.
We'll find out in next year's Drive to Survive.
Yeah, Drive to Survive. Yeah, and now talking about Drive to Survive, now Gunther Steiner is out of the thing, and he was like the star of. Well, I don't think so, but a lot of people were saying that he was the star of Formula One. Who do you think is going to be the next star of Formula One, of Drive to Survive? Da-da-da-da.
Come on, give us your view.
Susie Wolf.
Ooh.
Because
Ooh.
I don't know if you noticed, she's starring more and more in the Drive to Survive.
You serious?
She's married. She's married to Toto, and
You got a good point.
she's British, right? I think she's Scottish or something like that,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And I kind of think that she's like having a quiet smile and looking at Christian Horner and saying, "You sexy beast." I think she appreciates what Christian Horner has done. Anyway, I just think it's bizarre but funny at the same time. And I'm like looking at Christian Horner, totally unflustered, dude. There's old Toto who's throwing his Bose headphones and all that kind of shit when he loses his composure. I mean, Christian Horner is so level-headed, it's not funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, so I'm loving it now. Because look, I mean, my view was, look, if he had done something wrong,
Take a
of the
screenshot of this.
early days? I mean, as you suggested, Christian Horner's been around for so long.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a long time. He's aged. I mean, I'm sure this job ages you, but
yeah,
he's been successful right from the start. And he was spring chicken when he started.
Guys, any job ages you. That job just makes you older.
Well,
no,
what
I
if
think
you're a
life ages you. Full stop. I think you've got.
What
no
if you're
chance.
a beautician? You can sort that out.
Yeah, what with plastic surgery?
You can sort yourself. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but then the problem, you look like a plastic doll after a while.
Can you imagine like Andrew after plastic surgery and like Botox lips and stuff like that? That's not a pretty sight, dude.
It'll be hidden behind the beard, most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Look, I mean, if Christian Horner had done something wrong, then he deserves to go. But if this whole thing is a conspiracy and they've been trying to get rid of him, he beat them at their own game. That's all I'm gonna say.
Dude, I'm against the formulation of something wrong. Something wrong is a very relative term.
Yeah.
Define something wrong.
Well, I suppose if he had some inappropriate behavior where he had used his power to take advantage of someone in the business. For whatever reason. Yeah. Anyway, okay, that's me. I'm done talking now. Lester, you got any days of the year or some fun facts for
I
us
was thinking maybe we bring back our old feature.
What?
I need to give this some
Afrikaan
thought.
words.
Are you guys gonna say?
South
Oh
African
yeah,
slang.
let's do that.
You guys,
South
I
African
can
slang.
come up with. I can do that. I found a nice little TikTok channel before it gets banned, which brings up some great Afrikaans words.
you guys are gonna talk some war stories again.
War stories.
No. The other thing we used to do was Trumpism. And as Trump is now having a resurgence, maybe it's time to bring back Trumpisms.
Well, I tell you what, why don't we wait until he wins the elections? Oh wait, he's gonna win anyway. We might as well just start now.
I don't want to talk about American politics. It's
No.
it's scary. These two old guys is their best choice. I mean, what's the population of America? And these are the two best options they have.
Yeah.
Easy.
Crazy.
Anyway, today, National Day. It's the National Everything You Do Is Right Day.
Not
Is that-
something wrong.
Is that even
can't
if you
do
do
anything
something
wrong
wrong? Even if you do
I just
something
think
wrong, it's right.
It was the right thing.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Except I didn't get a coffee from Oleg this morning. But that was the right thing because it would have been cold.
Yeah, exactly. And stale.
You can celebrate Everything You Do Is Right Day. And this, I don't know how this works if you have an argument with your partner.
Mm. They're both right.
There needs to be a winner here. So you're both going to have a standoff because you're both going to be right because it's Everything You Do Is Right Day,
You're going to agree to disagree.
which is the right thing to do.
Exactly.
I see. Yeah. Oh yes, you
Crazy.
celebrate National Everything You Do Is Right Day as you see fit. Don't have much on this day, but there was something that piqued my attention. General Motors, been around for a while, consists of several car manufacturing companies. They, on this day, produced their 100 millionth automobile.
Holy cow.
Wow, that's impressive.
What? Yeah, that's a lot. Right?
When
But what
basically
year?
basically
year?
like in 2024, like on this day they've produced a 1 millionth vehicle.
Who's that? Sorry.
Like
Who's that?
no, like I'm asking, is it like this year that they've reached that milestone, or was it last year?
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Okay.
It's on this date that General Motors produced its 100 millionth automobile. That's a lot of cars. General Motors. Are you Googling this, you cheating bastard?
No, he's not.
No,
He's not.
I'm looking at Christian.
He's reading tabloids, British
Yeah.
tabloids, Express.
the Daily Express.
Okay, I'll give you a hint as to, because I thought 100 millionth automobile would be fairly recent because that's a big number.
Yeah.
But actually, the car that was the 100th millionth was an Oldsmobile Tornado. Like, what?
But when was that?
1968.
What?
Okay, that's believable. But that's 100 million, like in total, that was produced. But for Ford, for General Motors, what was, or was that 100 million vehicle produced by General Motors in 1968?
Yes.
That's impressive. So it's not even like global. It's like just for one company.
But that General Motors has evolved, right? General Motors used to own several companies, including those globally, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't just an American thing. And that's what I originally thought. 100 millionth automobile, General Motors, I know because General Motors made up of a few companies. But it's a lot. So imagine it, that was 1968.
That's
What is it
impressive.
now? Yeah.
Sure.
Don't have any others. Yeah, General Motors for you. It's Chevy, GMC, Chrysler. What's the other one? Buick. So they're mostly American brands.
Yeah.
But they are fairly global.
I heard the stats. Some time ago. I don't know how accurate that is, and that was like a few years ago. That in terms of the new vehicles being bought, kind of each year, there's about 100 million globally.
100 million a year. Oh.
But globally. New vehicles being bought, and that combines trucks, it combines light vehicles, etc., etc.
That's new. We're not talking second-hand.
We're just talking about new vehicles that are sold globally on a yearly basis. It was a figure of roughly 100 mil.
Sure.
That's a lot of carbon emissions.
Yeah, they're not all EVs though. Like those are
Definitely not.
I think like at least 50 or 40% of them would be heavy duty diesel trucks. You know,
It's a big number. But how many cars can you fit on a standard soccer field?
I have no
If
idea.
you're going to put that relate, so that's like, what do you say, 100 million? So that's tens of thousands of million football pitches full of cars a year.
I'm gonna check myself, dude. Like, let me just Google, because Google knows it better, right?
Yeah.
How
Oh look, search has
many
disappeared on my.
cars are sold globally each year? Okay, like the stats are not 100 mil, so like the estimates is about 60 million. So it's not 100 mil. The estimate from 2022 is about 60 million.
Still a big number, right?
But that was like a bad
How
year
many
because
people
of
bought
COVID.
here?
So, as well.
That's. Wait, I need to do a quick Google search.
So China is the
many-
largest car market in the world, accounting over for 23.6 million vehicles sold in 2022.
Sure.
Okay, we're going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
No, I was trying to look at how many people have turned 18 this year,
I think quite a
In the
lot. Quite a lot.
and it's hard to get that number, but in America alone, it's between 4 and 8 million people turned 18. Not that they're gonna, but they get their driver's license earlier than that. I'm just trying to find. I mean, that's. Everybody replaces their car quite frequently, you know. All right. Could we wrap this?
All right. I think we should. Right.
Enough talk about cars, racing, data protection.
And aircraft.
Just remember, if it's Boeing, I'm not going.
It's buying. It's okay. Have you got a? Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll try again next week. Yes. No. Maybe. 50-50. I can't see Lester's body language.
Leicester's body language does not gonna tell us anything like until the next session.
Okay, we'll catch you next week.
Leicester, you have a classical poker face.